So, Binky, you two are forever linked by the death of your mother. So, I
Right.
want to touch on that right
Right.
now. What are some memories you have of your mother?
Um, I really don't have too many because I was a child. So there's not too many fond ones that I can remember. The one I always remember the most is just her being in me and my sister's room. You know what I'm saying? The only reason I remember because we had this huge treasure chest full of toys that used to sit right in front of the bed, and she'll just sit there on the bed and play in my head while my sister was outside. My father was gone. I didn't know where nobody was at. You know, I was just a kid. And I just sit there and watch Three Stooges, and she'll laugh and play with me and just do whatever. You know, those times when she was over. You know what I'm saying? And just like seeing her face on pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like I got a picture on the front of my phone. You know what I'm saying? I heard that I wake up to every morning, just so I can make sure I remember her smile every single day that I'm on this earth.
Do you remember what she sounds like?
No, because that's a hard sense to really remember. You know what I'm saying? In somebody's voice, that's a really hard thing to remember, especially as a child. You feel what I'm saying? So I wish I could.
I can tell you what she sound like.
What?
Say something. That's what she sounds like. That's what she sounds like.
Right.
That's her voice, right? That's her laugh.
Yeah.
That's her smile. That's her everything.
Gotcha. So, Robert, there's a 5-year age difference between you and Binky. When it comes to your mother, what memories stick out to you the most?
Each memory is different for me, so none of them like stick out. They all have the same weight, and I saw her in different capacities. So even the negative times, and the negative things that I've seen out of my mother is still a precious memory for me, especially as an adult now, to know what it's like to struggle through life and deal with adult issues and not sometimes know how to cope with your own scars and your own traumas. There's a lot less judgment I have on her now in terms of the memories that we share. So there's not one that's more heavily weighted than any, because I have a handful of times that I've seen her in my life.
Do you feel as if some of the things that she went through, you're going through?
Absolutely. Generational curses are emphatically real. And even outside of generational curses, the curse of poverty is emphatically real. You know, absolutely. And to not have her here to help me walk through that is a painful thing. There's no doubt in my mind that my mother would be clean today and would be able to be a mother today. There's no doubt in my mind because she was too much of a calm, cool, warm-spirited person, beneath all that trauma, beneath all that pain that she didn't know how to navigate as a woman in a society like today, but even worse back then in the 80s and 90s. It's a lot less blame for her, and it's a lot more understanding for myself when I look back on the things that my mother struggled with and how she coped with them. It's a motivation for me to cope in a better way.
Gotcha. So, Binky, I'm going to take it back to you. When did you realize that I guess you didn't have a mother?
I guess I realized, like, probably around the age of, 15 or 16. To be more specific, that's when I was growing up, and, my cousins and them, they had their mothers, grandmothers, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And people around me always seeing them with their mothers, you know what I'm saying? And me growing up, our family was, already kind of, separated anyway. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even like I was getting a lot of love from that woman figure anyway. Mm. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't getting that nourishment, that nurturing, that really, love. You know what I'm saying? Just getting taken care of. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So when I realized that, I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So they should say.
And I think, yeah, absolutely. And I sat up one night, all night, cried from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. when it really hit me. Mm. At one of my football games, nobody was there.
So did they tell you the story about what happened to her? At that age too, or did you know before?
Well, nobody never really told me. I guess because of whatever reasons, I just recently learned more about everything from my brother. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Of what really happened. You know what I'm saying? And it really kind of hurt me a lot. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Because I mean, even though like things happen in life, somebody could have told me that. At least that would have gave me a little bit more closure too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like, I guess kind of like I think about it like it is what it is now. You feel me? She is. So
Gotcha. So Robert, at what age did you, or when did you learn about your mother's death?
Oh, I saw my mother's dead body that night.
mm-hmm.
I didn't have to learn of it. You know, she was on the couch next to me. When you see a person sleeping, you can kind of tell that they're asleep. But when you see a person dead, it's just
Stiffness.
No, it's complete limp. It's just it's like I have no desire to hold anything together.
Right.
You know, but it was also a peaceful, serene look on her face. So it was so puzzling to me. You know, I never seen that much peace on her face, but at the same time, I was looking at her lifeless body, and I learned about what happened to her through hearing adults talk. So they told me, oh, she had an asthma attack, and then they went and dragged her in the kitchen about how she OD'd on some type of drug, and she was with that N word, and so that listening to that conversation is where I actually heard what happened to my mother.
So you heard the negative at that moment too.
I heard the typical way they spoke of my mother. It wasn't negative. It was the only narrative that was pushed, for her or her children. So it was just the typical.
Right. I know in part one, Binky mentioned some other negative things he was told about her.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some similar experiences?
Yeah, a lot of times. The reason I didn't see my mother a lot is because sometimes I was kept away from her. Sometimes when it was time when my mother would try to come back and get me, and it's just honest conversation. I was coached before court. If your mother says she wants you, what you gonna say? Where you want to be?
By who?
I want to be here. I'm just saying. It don't matter.
Okay.
Right? But it's like, oh, I want to be here right now, and I want to be with my mother, right? But it was always a ploy or a plot to like have some distance. I remember one time my mother was walking up a particular street, and I was sitting in a barber shop, and she saw me sitting in the window, and I was just telling Binky this story the other day.
Yeah.
She was walking up the street with a 40 in her hand. She looked in the window. She saw me. I saw her. She tried to come in, but the barber locked the door before she could come in because she was clearly drunk, right? And he knew like that was my mom, so I guess he was trying to protect me. But she got so irate that like, and because I'm her son, I kind of know what she was thinking. She threw the bottle at the window that I was sitting under, right? But I don't think she was trying to hurt me. It was her way of like, I'm getting in here one way or another to get to my son.
Right.
And then when she actually realized what she did, she just took off running. So I mean, it was a run of the muck. It wasn't something that I thought is negative because that was the only way she was talked about.
So I just want to go back to her death. Did other members of your family, how did they provide comfort during that time?
In East Baltimore, as a boy, you don't get comfort. There's no opportunity for comfort. I used to get in trouble for crying about my mother my mother dying. I would get in trouble. I would get chastised. I would get punished. So you learn really quickly not to feel things. And especially with the dynamic mixed in with the socioeconomical status that you live in, right? So imagine in 5th grade, knowing every day that your mom died, and even so, I'll speak on this. Even in the education system, we're failing because they knew it was documented that my mom died. They assigned me a psychiatrist. I told my psychiatrist on the first day, I said, I'm never going to talk to you. And she said, okay, we'll just play games every session. And we played games the entire year. She never helped me. She never taught me to feel. That was her time to intervene, and stop what East Baltimore was teaching me, right? And be able to help shape and navigate what she, a child. And even she failed me in that moment. So, you aren't allowed to feel things. It's taboo.
So, And you were how old? 10?
10.
So why did you say that to the psychiatrist at the time?
Bro, my mother, who always promised that we would be back together again one day, who had a son and a daughter that she lived with, which is kind of like, I say that because that's like hope, right? Like, oh, you really getting it together now. You doing it, right? You going to get me too because you got them and you sustaining them and they four, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you've done this. So there's this hope and anticipation, and then you keep seeing her every weekend, mm-hmm. right? And that's getting you closer to the narrative. And then she drops off the face of the earth, and then she's buried on your birthday. The day that she birthed you, you put her in the ground. And now, you're all alone in life. Why you think I told her that? You think I could process that? You think I could articulate myself as an 11-year-old in the way that I can do today? Mm-hmm. No, absolutely not. But it was her job to intervene, and that didn't happen, mm-hmm. right? I have students walk into my classroom when I was teaching and say, I ain't doing this, I ain't doing, you know, and I'm able to learn the student and know like what that actually means, right? It never means what's coming out of their mouth. Children can't articulate their emotions fully, right? They do the best job that they can. That's why babies just cry, because that's all they can do. That's their range of articulation. So it was her job to intervene, and you know, she didn't. So it don't matter why I told her that, you know. She still got a check for seeing me at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mickey, I want to jump to you. I'm going to stick with that, but I want to jump to you for a second. So I don't want to leave this question. Mm-hmm. You said you were 15 when you mm-hmm. realized. Mm-hmm. You said you cried that night. Mm-hmm. So who comforted you, and what family members?
like my brother said, it really wasn't no comfort. Mm-hmm. Simply because I was just thinking about the next meal I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna get another $1. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. At the age of 15, that's what I had to think about. Because at that age, I was wearing hand-me-downs. At that age, wasn't nobody giving me nothing. At that age, I was sleeping outside in other people's houses on couches. Gotcha. You feel me? Like real hard. You feel? I don't excuse my language, but yeah. So I really couldn't think about nothing else right now. I just had to toughen up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you get done crying and you swell your chest up
and get after it.
Absolutely.
So this is for the both of you. Robert, going back to the psychiatrist, at what age did you say, I guess, at what age did you say to someone, at what age did you say to someone, you know what, I want to talk about my mother's death?
When I wrote my book. So I started that book when I was 19, but I didn't put it out until I was 22. It took 3 years to write my first book. And that's the first time I really, really opened up about my mother's death. And I still haven't even fully opened up about it. But that was the first time.
Okay. Binky, did you ever go through like any kind of therapy as a kid?
Yeah, me and my sister did, because, you know, we was acting out in school, she was running away, all that, you know what I'm saying, due to that lack of guidance, you know what I'm saying, so we did, but it's basically the same thing bro told you. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. You don't want to comply, all right, I ain't gonna make you comply, I don't want to feel what you feeling, I'm just here for the check.
So was there ever a moment during that, I guess, those sessions with the therapist that you wanted that the trauma that you experienced with your mother was addressed?
It was, but I couldn't. I was still a little bit too young to articulate myself the way I wanted to. Absolutely. So that's why I'm just like coming into all of this at this age now, and I'm really starting to understand the full meaning of it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's to the point where I don't even I ain't sad about it no more. I don't cry about it. You know what I'm saying? I just gotta be joyful for her and keep her here, like I said earlier.
I think it's important to understand just people, and I only know it because of being in education. Developmentally, children are not aware of anything outside of the world except themselves.
Right.
They somehow cause everything. right? They're the catalyst to some way. Like, what did I do how could I have prevented this? Children are very saturated in self. They don't consider other people's perspectives or, fully, they can't yet. So to me, there was some way that I was responsible for my mother's death. She's laying right here next to me. Like, not responsible, but I guess there was some way I could have prevented it, or there was I was somehow tied to it and attached to it. The fact that I lost my mother.
Right.
That's the fact. Not Binky lost his mother.
Right.
Not my sister. I lost my mother.
Right.
When she promised me she was going to do this, and I know she was a woman of her word, right? Kids can't be able to step outside of themselves from a situation and analyze it the way adults can, and those skills aren't built. So when adults, and he was in another state, so I don't want it to seem like this is a local thing. This is a thing. Right. He was in another state getting services provided to him in the same manner I was in Baltimore, and neither of us got help. Neither of us. I went to school the next day after my mother's funeral, which also happened to be the next day after my birthday. You can't tell me that wasn't the only thing I wanted to talk about. Come on, how was your birthday? It was great. I went to my mother's funeral. You feel me?
Yeah.
It was the topic of conversation, but who cared enough to get into that? Sorry, but I just it burns me up that it's not a Baltimore thing. It burns me up that my brother can be in another state experiencing the same systemic issues that we experience here in East Baltimore, and it just shows you it's a bigger problem than we all realize.
So,
soapbox off.
So when I came back here, it was just like, it wasn't like, oh, I gotta get back adjusted to this environment. No, I've been doing. I'm back.
So running them up.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So
just y'all country down there.
Ooh. Okay. So Robert, we all know you're an educator.
Used to be former educator.
Okay. You still have kids that you reach
absolutely.
out to.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and I would say you've experienced, you sat down with these kids, you had personal conversations with these children, and I'm quite sure they've shared experiences about trauma that was similar to your experience. What advice would you give to their caretakers on how to support them, the best way to support them? What have you given to their caretakers?
It's simple. Relationships. I haven't been in a relationship with my brother for very long, but I know what makes him tick. I know what sets him off.
Some of everything. I got a short fuse.
I know when I need to get him out of an environment, etc., right? Because I've studied him. I know his triggers. I've seen him triggered, right? I've triggered him, and you learn from that. A lot of times we try to teach kids how not to be triggered, and that's teach a gun how not to shoot if the trigger's pulled. Please, somebody, we'll cure this, black male plight if we can teach a gun how not to shoot if a trigger's pulled. You can't, right? So in the same way, learn these kids' triggers. There was a kid named Makai whose mother died. His father was in prison, right? Imagine what it did to him. Every time he misbehaved and the teacher said, "I'm going to call your mother. What's her number?" He would go off through the roof. And I understood why. But who else took the time to understand why? When you're saying, "Let me call your mother," how that doesn't trigger in his head. I don't have one. That's the first thing he hears in his mind.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to get in trouble. I don't even have that. The thing that you think is the go-to. It's absent in my life. We need to know those types of things for kids that we're servicing, right? We need to approach them a little differently. If a kid gets yelled at home all day long, you think he's going to respond to your yelling? Their yelling comes with whippings and you just noise, you just clanging cymbals, right? We got to know triggers. we got no approaches. It's not a blanketed statement. You know, it's tailored to that individual child.
So, Binky, because you touched on how ineffective therapy was for you as a kid,
Let me shine on him for a second.
Yeah, my bad, man. My bad.
Excuse me. Nah. Would you ever go as an adult?
Nah, I mean, like,
or have you going?
Nah, I don't feel like I had to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just learned from my trials and tribulations. I learned my lessons on my own. I learned from my mistakes. That's a part of growing and being your own man. You know what I'm saying? I felt like my sister should go more. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that might have affected them more deeply than it might have affected me, if that makes sense. You feel me in that mental aspect? But it really didn't affect me. You know what I'm saying? It's the way like now. You know what I'm saying? It's the way like I feel like I need to go back because like as I learn myself more, I learn the person she was too. If that makes sense.
How old is your sister?
And my brother here, so I don't really, you know what I'm saying? That's my therapist right there.
How old is your sister?
I got 3 sisters actually. How old is Quinshana?
Quinshana's 34.
She's 34. My sister Tayette, she's 31, and my other sister Angel, she is 26.
Very good.
Yeah.
So you like therapy you wouldn't need it right now as an adult?
Nah, I don't feel like I did it. Cause we're gonna go through in life anyway. Without that, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Nope, I'm good. Got my family. I'm here, chilling.
Robert, have you ever had therapy? Have you ever sought therapy outside of going as a?
Nah, like you know what I'm saying, nah, straight like that. Yeah.
So you've never?
Nah, yeah. Listen. Therapy. I slept on therapy.
Okay.
I slept on therapy big time. But I will say that Western Hemisphere like therapy has a ceiling, you know. So it benefited me for about 1.5 years, and then at that point it was just like there was another level that talk therapy couldn't take me to, you know, and that came through like meditation and just mindfulness and things like that. So for me, where I was in my life, I needed therapy because in my heart, I'm a mama's boy, right? And I'm robbed of that opportunity every day. Like there are things that I go through now where if my mother was here, I'd probably just like go over her house and just crawl up in her bed, right? Just to get away from everything for a minute as a safe space.
Right.
And I feel robbed of that every day.
I feel
and I feel cheated of it every day. So I'm still in therapy, but just my own process of therapy. You know, myself. Absolutely. Exactly. But talk therapy did do a lot for me in the time that I use it. And you know, I think it's a tool instead of a crutch. So a lot of people use it as a crutch and they try to depend on it forever. But if you use it as a tool and build the skills within yourself to help regulate your own emotions and things like that, it taps out after a while.
So, I guess being around Binky, you guys building this relationship, even though he said right now he doesn't need it. Do you feel it would help him with some of the things that you see as triggers for him?
My opinion to him doesn't matter.
Okay.
He has to be whole within himself.
Gotcha.
And what a lot of people don't understand is Binky, in terms of his mental space, is much further along at 25 than I was at 25 even.
Gotcha.
So if he says he doesn't need it at 25, you know, he taught me about meditation, so I'm not going to challenge it, right? Because he's still helping me unlock certain things in my own brain as my little brother. So, you know, I think he's well aware enough of himself to know. Gotcha. And he was so young. He doesn't have as many traumas as I have, as my sisters have. Absolutely. Right? So he may be in a better position emotionally. Like, not better, but, you know, have less stuff to heal, exactly. Right? And have less stuff to get out. So I wouldn't challenge him in that.
Gotcha. Understood. So Robert, in general, how has your life changed as a result of having Binky present today?
I give him that little extra drip. Drip. No, that's
Look
not.
at my swag when I drip. I
Nah,
just
don't
leaked
give-
one of
don't
his
give 'em like
songs.
that. Don't
I
give
just
'em
leaked
that.
one of his
Don't
songs.
give 'em all like that. Nah.
I was debating here, like, should I do it? Remember, you heard it here first from Robert A. though when it comes out.
Yeah.
You want the short answer or the long answer?
I want the best answer.
I lost a brother when I was 15 years old. I grew up with him. I got taken away from my mother when I was 1, and I was with him from 1 to 15. Same room, shared the same room, like that intense of a relationship. It was daily, right? We had bunk beds, right? He used to, when I fall asleep, he would kick my mattress up and make me fall off the top of my bunk bed onto the floor. Like, it was very heavily, even though we were blood cousins, he was my brother. Everybody in the streets knew, like, that's what it was. And he was killed when I was 15. And in my entire life, I take these young brothers on because I never had a little brother. I was always the little guy, right? I grew up with older guys. I was always the younger guy. And so for Binky to be in my life and for him to come in my life when he did, I think that's what's most important. Binky came into my life at a place in my life where I had to make a very tough decision. I don't want to talk too much about my docuseries, My Return to Poverty, by the way. Look out for that. But I was in a place in my life where I had to make the decision. And he was going to follow me whichever way I went. Right?
Good or bad?
Good or bad. Whichever direction Robert said we were going, that's the direction we were going in. And for me to look at him and see my mother, I had to honor that and make the harder choice. And I dedicate myself to it every day. So he's impacted my life in a much bigger scope than he even realizes. Because I was in a place where things were either going to go one way or the other for me. And he helped guide that boat to making the right decision. So I'm thankful for him every day. It's changed my life in a very drastic way. It's the reason we sitting here right now, because of that very moment.
Okay. Binky, what has changed for you?
Man,
Sorry.
Yeah. The biggest thing that changed for me, man, I got somebody I can irk every single day who won't get mad.
Lord, don't he make sure he do it.
No, that's my brother, man. He going like, I'm skeptical, man. I'm a full-blown skeptic. You understand what I'm saying? Like, brother, sister, mother, cousin, the grass, that dog right there, I don't trust it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for us to be able to click the way we did, even on that first meeting at Ruby Tuesdays, you know what I'm saying? Like, that really, like, touched my heart, man. And, like, he showed me a lot of different things. And as far as, like, you know, helping me, like, musically, as far as, like, writing, because, you know, he had his books and stuff like that.
Have. Thank you.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
4 books.
But anyway, yeah, man. Like, and like I said, I always wanted a big brother, man. You know what I'm saying? We gotta go out. We gonna do a lot more stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Cause like, I envision us doing a lot together. You know what I'm saying? Look, his face like that, cause he know how I act. He know how I act, Kenny. But overall, man, like, it changed my life a lot, man. I'm definitely in a happier space since my brother came in my life. A much happier space, cause I used to be in a dark space.
What is something he said or maybe has done that has led you to trust him or to just to open up?
He never led me astray. I mean, like, even as I saw him go through his things and fight his own demons, he still had it in his mind, I can't do this to my brother because I know my brother gonna rock with me either way. That's the biggest thing he's showing me.
And when you realized that, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel like I needed to get in compliance and do the same thing and just like kind of like man up and boss up and kind of like just like push this little street shit to the side for a minute and really focus on something that could really like take me somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Something that could really like feed my son for life.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? This come and go. You know what I'm saying? You risk it all every day. You feel me? So
people see these glasses and they think I don't know what you're talking about. Not you. I'm just saying. Like,
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick it on. I'm gonna keep it right here. So, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself through the process of reconnecting with your brother?
Just always be mindful and be aware of yourself and think and move with logic. Because I'm a Virgo, so I'm the Virgo that moves with his emotions before his mind, and that's what get me in a lot of messed up situations. But like just being around my brother, seeing the way he moves, to see the way he talk to people, even though he might want to get into his own, get out his body at sometimes. He's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Bigger mission. That's what That's what he really taught me.
For Robert, so the same question.
My biggest lesson?
Yeah, that you learned about yourself, reconnecting with your brother.
The biggest lesson that I learned about connecting with my brother is that I wasn't serious about what I said I was serious about in my life. I've gotten to a place in my life where professionally I hold a certain look, right? I taught, headed a school. So there's a certain professional circle that I have. And it is very valuable to me. I consider it a part of the mission on what I want to accomplish in my life. But if that space doesn't have any room for my brother, it's not a space, right? Because what my brother is passionate about is atypical of everything that I've built over the last 10 years. It's polar opposite. It's everything I come from, right? And this is why people see me and they say, "Oh, we can never tell. We thought you come from a middle class family with 2 parents." No, I'm able to be in this lane, but I know this environment, right? And how could I rob my brother of the opportunity for me to cultivate something in him because of what my professionalism may appear to look like? Right? It's the politics of being like an adult. You know what I mean? And so I decided that if I'm passionate about boys that look like me, and I'm passionate about listening to their dreams and help cultivating their dreams and help pushing them to success and help pushing them to see like the potential within themselves, who better to start with than my little brother?
Mm-hmm.
Who better to take somebody who says, I don't care about anything, and try to help him find something to care about?
Right, because and that's deep only because it's like, he could have just been showing me everything I already been seeing. He could have just chose that route. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. That's why I respect him more as a man. You feel me?
So for Binky, does brotherhood fill the void of not having a mother in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that because like certain traits we know, you know what I'm saying? Like he knows certain stuff that I do is like that's my mother all day. You know what I'm saying? Like can't nobody else know that. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like when it comes to stuff like that, yeah, absolutely. And just being around each other every day, and then just like having our offspring coming together. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And doing what we can. Absolutely, I feel a major void.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So does this? We both are fathers.
Yeah.
So does this newfound brotherhood help you in any kind of way when it comes to being a father?
Absolutely.
What have you learned from him? What have you learned from?
It takes a village.
Each other.
It takes a village. We are that village. You know what I'm saying? I keep it short and sweet on that one.
Mm-hmm. You?
I mean, it takes a village. It takes a village. We are a village. You know, I keep it short and sweet on that one.
Y'all see, that's why I can't stand them, y'all.
You feel me?
Do you feel there are some things that you should have learned from your mother, that would have helped you be a better father?
I would have to say no, only because like I have a son,
mm-hmm.
So I always had male figures in my life. You know what I'm saying? So just by them guiding me and showing me how to, move a certain way, think a certain way, earn a certain way. You know what I'm saying? I can kind of instill some of those morals and principles in him.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, he has a great mother, so it would never affect me or him in a negative way.
So then, Robert, I guess this question would shift towards you then.
Everybody's born with a mother and a father for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're not born with anything else. And so I need my mother for every area of my life, not just fatherhood. For somebody to say, I've seen you since you've touched this earth, and I've seen every phase, I've seen every moment of your life in a sense, to be able to advise you in a different way than anyone else can, because that source of nourishment will be unbiased. You know, your mother loves you in the sense of, I don't care what you do, I'm going to try to get you, you know, but I'm going to love you regardless. Right. And so you approach that type of advice differently.
Yeah. Because Pop's going to give you that tough love. You know what I'm saying?
And so I need that every day. Yeah. You know, every day I wake up and say, okay, how can I get in tune with myself to get it? Right. But it would be much easier to have with my bae, my mama.
Right. I know that you also have a daughter. So unlike Binky, how has not having a mother affect you emotionally when it pertains to raising a daughter?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I feel bad for my kids that they don't have any family on my side. Luckily, you know, their mom's side has like a, you know, great support system and family. But I feel guilty that she can't, you know, understand. Her mother's side of the family isn't like very impoverished, right? Thankfully, it's not a bad thing. But like, there's parts of me and there's parts of Binky that like she sees and she's like, wait a minute, right? Because she doesn't have that side of her family. And so in that sense, I feel like I wish they had a relationship. But other than that, my daughter is very understanding because I'm very honest with her about a lot of things. And she gets the perspective of me, and she gets to be able to understand a little bit more about herself.
Understood.
She definitely understands more about her brother after seeing Binky, though. I'll tell you that much.
Do you feel like,
woo, they some crazy boys?
That your son and Binky are similar?
Woo. Next question.
Oh, okay. Afterwards, right? So, is the relationship, Binky, the relationship you built with Robert, is that something that you would want to build with your other siblings?
I mean, we already tried to build that relationship with them. You know what I'm saying? With them, it's not like, I feel like it's too forced. You know? And I'm just going to be genuine in that answer. I feel like it's too forced. And the reason I say that is because, like, I can't just come over to their house and be like, hey, what's going on? I'm about to go on your refrigerator, like how I do bro house. And he just don't mind. He's just like, oh, that's just my little brother, earthy ass little brother. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, it's like you feel it. It's like the feeling's different. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like I said, I already tried to build that relationship. You know what I'm saying? We still talk, we still communicate and stuff like that, but it ain't as deep as like our relationship, like me and my brother relationship, like how it grew so fast. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not the same for real.
Gotcha. Yeah. What about you, Robert? Same question.
Yeah, man, they my mom kids. And it's all. I promised my mother actually that I would bring all her kids back together. Because she used to always tell me, we're going to be together one day, man. And so when she died, I told her, like, that's what I was going to do. So, I mean, my sisters are a piece of work, but, you know, I'm never going to give up on them. Because you have to understand that everybody has their own perspective and own traumas and own view of things, right? Mm-hmm. Krishana was my sister. She was a teenager when my mother died. I'm sure she needed her mother more than anything as a teenage girl growing up in East Baltimore, right? And the things that came about in her life after that, she's been through some pretty traumatic stuff. You know, it's been in the news, so I can share it. Like from standing on the bus stop, having a guy come up to her, stabbing her in her face multiple times, and surviving that, to having to run drugs to New York and, you know, do a lot of different things. I'm sure she she has a lot of things that she hasn't dealt with and processed. So we still extend the olive branch all the time. But sometimes people want to do relationships on their terms. But the paths will cross. It's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone who has family members they are estranged from for whatever reason?
Just always make sure you at least give it a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe if I would have gave it a chance back then, maybe we would be a little bit further along now. You know what I'm saying? And just like, if it's some resentment there, just like let it go, let the grudges go. You know what I'm saying? Family gonna be there forever.
Robert?
I don't give advice, man.
You give me advice all the time.
No. You ask me questions, I give you my answer. I don't give advice. Sorry.
Well, what answer would you give to someone? What answer would you give to someone who's estranged from their family members for whatever reason? What answer would you give them?
When I was estranged from my siblings,
mm-hmm.
whom I wanted a relationship with, I pursued them in spite of my emotions. I probably wrote, let's be generous and say 50 letters, and I only received one back from them. But when you're doing things in genuine intention, you don't have expectations. I wanted them to know like I miss them and I love them, so it was a genuine pursuit. So the advice I gave myself, right, is to continue to pursue what you want, and one day it might manifest, right, and be sitting right in front of your eyes. Now, granted, he's one of the three, but I'm not at 0 and 3 anymore. I've gotten 33% of my siblings, right, and the other two aren't very far away as far as pulling them in is concerned. So I had to figure out who I genuinely wanted a relationship with, and I had to put any other differences to the side. And big differences, like his dad was with my mother when she died. Like, that's a big difference to put aside. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's a big difference to put aside. It's a big, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that genuine pursuit has to be greater than anything that you're beefing about, right? Or anything that might be separating you. If it's not, I wouldn't recommend pursuing it.
I want to thank the listeners who tuned in to this episode of Reaching the Border. Foes the Bros Part 2.
Man, check out some of my music on SoundCloud, man. Little Bank, man. Get at me, Radical Marathon. We got a lot on the way. Foes the Bros coming soon. Hopefully following this podcast. And y'all just keep watching and listening.
Hi, my name is Robert A. Douglas, and I would like to just talk about a docuseries that I have coming out called My Return to Poverty. And it's a very interesting documentary. It's about my life over the last year, how I've gotten to the place that I am now. So it's a very interesting documentary. I'm going to be plugging some things soon. And also make sure you comment on this video, like the video if you like it, because we're going to be doing a reactions video to your comments as we did for part 1. I know we didn't announce that, and I apologize. But make sure you comment on the video, subscribe to the page, and like this video. Until next time.